Hi and welcome to Data Garden. Thank you for checking out my video. In today's video we will build up a bit on the last tutorial where we have worked with the aggregate function in R, and in today's video we want to work with the merge function in order to put multiple columns created in the aggregate function into one data frame. So let's start by creating a new R script. And in the last tutorial we have worked with the empty cars dataset, and that's also what we want to use today again. So let's load this one up very quickly. Empty cars, okay. And let's display the column names very quickly because we will be working with those, and I will be using the call names command for that. So for the demonstration of this tutorial I will create 3 data frames with the aggregate function. So the first one will be the number of observations for each category that we will define. So I will actually save this data set as an object, and I will start by typing an opening bracket so that the command will automatically show the result and save it as an object at the same time. So let's create a new object that we call, let's say, number ops, like this, and we define that as aggregate opening bracket, and what we want to have is, let's say, the quarter second, the quarter mile time in seconds in relation to, that was wrong key, like this, in relation to, let's say, the number of cylinders plus the number of gears, like we did last time. And then we define data equals empty cars and function equals length. So yeah, we have the number of observations, or in this case it says the length of the vector, so to say, which is the number of observations for each category that we have defined. So let's execute the command, and I have typed something wrong. Aggregate, like this, and now it works. So as you can see, the 8 cylinders and 3 gear cars have the most number of observations with a total of 12, followed by 4 cylinders and 4 gears with 8 observations. Now, one thing that is notable here is that even though the number of observations, the length, is the same independent of which variable we put here, we still have to put some variable here. Now what I will quickly do is I will change the column names of this data set that we've just created, number of ops, because otherwise we will get some problems later. So I recommend you to quickly do the same, and we will use the call names command for this. Call names of number ops equals, and we will actually change only the third one, so I will use the square brackets for the 3. So we change only this call name, and we will call it number of observations. Click run, and we will have a quick look at it. As you can see, we now have here the number of cylinders, here the number of gears, and then the number of observations for each class. So let's do the same thing 2 more times, and yeah, let's actually type new ones. I will do the same thing again, and this time we will call the data set, let's say, min qsec, because we want to have the minimum of the quarter mile time, and we will define that as aggregate and we will use qsec as a function of cylinder plus gear again, and the data will be empty cars again, and the function this time will be min for the minimum. So let's run this one, and of course we have done this one in the last tutorial. Of course the result this time is the same, except this time we have defined it as a new object. And finally, let's say that we want to have the average miles per gallon for each class as our last value. So let's create a new object called mean MPG, and we define that as aggregate MPG as a function of sil plus gear once again, and data equals empty cars once again, and the function this time is mean. So press run, and of course cars with a lower cylinder count have much higher MPG than the cars with 8 cylinders, which was to be expected. Now, in the final step, this is what the tutorial is of course all about, let's merge these three data sets that we have just created into one, so that we actually get a pivot style table, which was the goal of the last tutorial and which we will finish in this one. So let's create a new data set, and I will once again put the brackets around the whole command so that it will show the result immediately. And let's say that we call it merge 1, because we have to do 2 steps. We can only merge 2 data frames at a time, and as we have three data frames, we have to merge twice. So let's call it merge 1, and we define that as, and then the command that we want to use is called merge, and opening bracket, and then it gives us here the suggestion already. We first define the first data set that we want, so that would be number ops, comma, and then we define the second data set, which, let's say, we first want the minimum of the quarter mile time, let's say, so this, and then we have to define by which columns we want to merge. So I will first show you how it is not done, and that would be by equals, let's say, a sil. So we would only merge by one column, and let's quickly show the result. And as you can see, we have just created way too many rows, because each gear type will be merged with each cylinder type, even though they don't really work with each other, because clearly we need both variables in this case in order to define a category. So what we have to do here is instead of just typing one variable, we have to define a vector of variables by which we want to define the merge. So after the by, let's quickly remove this one. We type C and then opening bracket, sil, and then comma, gear. And this looks much better. Now we have we see that it's actually correct. So now we just have to add the final column of the mean miles per gallon, and for that we create a new data set. Let's call it merge 2, and we define that as merge, and then the first data set is of course merge 1, which we have just created, and the second is mean MPG, and the by is the same as in the previous command, with cylinder being the first column to merge by and gear the second one. And press run, and as you can see, we have just added the third column. Now, what I would still do is change the column names, because that's one of the things where the aggregate function does not shine so much. So let's maybe change the column names of merge2 and of that the fourth one, and let's change that to min quarter mile time, like this, and column names merge2. The fifth one would be mean MPG, and let's have a look at the data set. As you can see, now this already looks pretty much like a pivot table in Excel, where we have, in this case, 2 definition variables, and then we have a couple of values for each category that these variables have. So I hope you have found this tutorial helpful. If you have, then please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content of this type, then make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions or suggestions for further videos, then please leave them down below in the comments. And I hope to see you for the next video. Till then, have a nice time. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.